He's loved by his clients because, as their agent, he cuts the most lucrative deals. But there are some who call him the most hated man in baseball. So does Scott Boras deserve that title? Will you judge for yourself? ABC's Bill Weir reports from Newport Beach, California.
This is Barry Zito, the highest paid pitcher in history.
10 seasons in a row, he's had 150 games or more.
And this is the man who got him the money, around $500,000 per game. This is Daisuke Matsuzaka. He's never thrown a major league pitch, but the Red Sox paid $51 million just to talk to his agent. And yes, this is his agent. Scott Boras not only pulled off two of the biggest signings of the winter, he also represents a billion-dollar roster. Alex Rodriguez, Carlos Beltran, Greg Maddux, Kenny Rogers, Adrian Beltre, and 55 other elite major leaguers. Together, they make him one of the most powerful and most feared men in sports.
Would you be just as successful selling cars?
I'm not a salesman.
No?
No.
He bristles at the comparison. Even the word agent and all its Hollywood imagery make him uncomfortable.
I need to feel you, Jerry! Show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money!
He insists he is simply a baseball attorney, but some baseball writers have attached more caustic labels. Pimp, shill, the devil on the shoulder of superstars, convincing them to abandon their loyal fans and sell their souls to the highest bidder.
At what stadium do you get booed the loudest?
Well, I would say that you're rarely cheered, and I always tell them, look, it's the players' decisions. We really work for them, and I'm not sure they ever believe that.
All this son of a farmer ever wanted to do was play baseball. Buddy blew out his knee in the minors and went to law school. After a couple years defending drug companies, he helped a former teammate get a decent contract, and over the next couple decades, helped raise player salaries tenfold. Some believe he is driven by revenge on a game that never let him play. He denies this, instead pointing to his days in the minors as a lesson in inequality.
I saw 40 players get released in one day when I was playing professional baseball. I'll never forget it.
Welcome to our ball team.
Thank you.
That memory is motivation to get every player their fair share of baseball's $6 billion a year business. And it takes almost all of his time. He admits seeing his players more than his family, attending a game every night.
We don't socialize particularly a great deal with our clients. We're there to give them information. We're there to provide a service for them because we know these careers are short.
He employs a roster of scouts, trainers, marketing gurus, and sports psychologists. And beyond the office waterfall, past the wall of gold gloves, down in the basement, lies a secret weapon. It is a room full of computers and video recorders which hold every statistic of every game ever.
300 home runs and 1,000 RBIs at age 29. So there are only 9 players in history.
Okay, who in that group's not a Hall of Famer?
He says they will put in 500 man-hours crunching numbers before the next negotiation.
Andrew would be second in games only to Pete Rose. Wow.
The most glorious stats and projections are bound into a fancy brochure and sent to teams. Then comes the bidding, with Boras relentlessly playing one team off the other to drive up the price. The first time he tried this, the Texas Rangers gave star shortstop Alex Rodriguez more than $250 million. 6 years later, it remains the richest contract in sports history.
Have you ever encouraged a player to take less money?
Well, the perception obviously is that our clients take the highest contract, and the reality of it is about close to 70% of the time the players take less than the greatest offer.
Only the players and Boras know for sure, and it is still widely believed that he created phantom bids, duping the Rangers into overpaying Rodriguez by $100 million.
Do you play poker?
No, not at all.
Not a gambler?
No. Well, I'm in the baseball business.
We searched far and wide for a general manager who would comment on Scott Boras, but the answer was almost always the same.
And I guess what I would say is that I would respectfully decline to be involved in that story.
Hey, I passed the message on to our GM, and he's going to have to pass, he said.
Mr. O'Dowd has informed me that he would like to tell you that he respectfully declines. Okay?
I want to get back to you on the Cashman request. He is going to respectfully decline.
But finally, a taker in New York Mets GM Omar Minaya. Does he just come out and say, I want $150 million for Carlos Beltran? I mean, or does he write it on a piece of paper? Does he actually say those words?
No, he says, I want $200 million for Carlos Beltran. If I want to build a good team, I got to have good players. He has good players. Now it's up for us to negotiate. Is he a tough negotiator? Yes, he is. Is that against the rules? No.
Are there any teams that won't deal with you?
No. We've signed a player with every major league team in the last 2 years.
Still, his reputation echoes all the way to the amateur diamonds. Freddie Freeman is one of the best prospects in Southern California.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17, and you could be a millionaire in a couple
Possibly.
of months.
Even though teams are beating down his door, Freddie and his father know that hiring baseball's most powerful agent would be a calculated risk.
It's like if you go with Boras, you won't get drafted. That's the perception, because they know Scott Boras will get his players a lot of money, and I think scouting directors and teams shy away from those players that have Scott Boras.
He's changed the industry. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I think these first-round picks would still be getting, $100,000 instead of $3.5 million.
And for this, one of his former clients suggested to me that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Fans may scoff, but for Scott Boras, the only opinions that matter come from baseball players.
I had a labor law professor who worked with me when I was young in this business, and he said, I want to tell you something. After watching this medium, if you're really, really good at your job, 90% of what's said about you will be negative, so be prepared for that.
And you're fine with that?
Well, I guess we're doing well at our job.
In Newport Beach, California, Bill Weir for Nightline.
And if you took your family of 4 to Boston's Fenway Park last year, it probably cost you around $300, due in no small part, I'm sure, to those massive contracts.